Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, January 6th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Zach Urban, the Saturday crew, are back with the Saturday slate that features 12 games, a big one today, as usual, on a Saturday. We'll get to that in just a moment. But briefly, we're going to be very quick with the recap. Winnipeg with a very, again, just do enough to get by and win, kind of like the night before against San Jose, but they got it done 3-1 against Anaheim. The Carolina Hurricanes continue to score goals in bunches, a 5-goal outburst in the third period to turn what was a close game into a 6-2 romp over the Washington Capitals last night. So great to see the Carolina Hurricanes offense keeps rolling for them. And then, of course, a game that was probably the most entertaining and certainly the most violent game of the night, and certainly the most vitriol of the night, was in New Jersey between the Blackhawks and the Devils. It was a wild game. Conor Bedard ended up, hit pretty hard, pretty clean though, by Brendan Smith. One of those situations where it caught him in a sensitive spot, a tough spot. He clearly was shaken up from it, didn't return, and obviously his status moving forward, we'll have to wait and see. And then Heeshier's involved in an incident right after that. He gets banged up, although he did return to the game in the second period. And then from that point on, it just got very cantankerous, scrums after the whistle, a couple of fights. I thought everything was handled well, though. And to me, when you're looking at these incidents now, we're at a point in the NHL these days in the modern era where even if it's a clean hit, there's going to be retribution or someone's going to have to answer for something, because that's just the way it is now. Clean hits, even, you're going to have to respond. And it's more so who you hit, not the type of hit. And that's exactly what we saw last night. It was a good hard open ice hit by Brendan Smith, which was clean, nothing dirty about it, but it was number 98. It was Conor Bedard, and you still targeted him, and you still knocked him out of the game. And from a Chicago Blackhawks standpoint, a response had to be done and had to be made. Simple as that. So Nick Foligno steps in, and credit to Brendan Smith. Okay, he knows what he did. Put Bedard out of the game, even with a legal hit, but he still answered the call. Dropped his gloves with Foligno. Stand-up guy, and Brendan Smith always has been, in my opinion. Great job. Foligno handled it well. Smith handled it well. Just in terms of the whole code and the way you handle a situation like that, both sides, A+. All around. That's the way it's done. Alex, what did you think there?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's a good, hard-fought hockey game, and it's unfortunate to see injuries happen to anybody, but especially when you talk about key players and the best player on the team for Chicago, Conor Bedard. But everybody stepped up in the proper way, wearing a Hawks uniform last night. I was very proud to see that. Nick Foligno, who I've been screaming it from the rooftops for a while now, this guy needs to be the next captain of the Hawks. They need to extend him. He needs to be around this group for quite a while, because he gets it. He gets it more than just about anybody that's in that locker room that's a veteran. And it was unfortunate to see that he got hurt later on in the contest as well. And that's what really ended up being the backbreaker.
Around two forwards in the third period. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But the thing is, you saw the rallying around, Bedard getting knocked out. You saw not necessarily just also the altercations and the battles that we saw, but also just how they responded. Boris Kachuk getting that shorthanded goal to make that game, still fairly close. You saw the guys buzzing around, and you mentioned it, Ian, and most of the people mentioned it who liked the Hawks yesterday pregame. This is not a good spot for New Jersey. We've seen New Jersey lay eggs in these spots. They didn't play their best game last night. They got 6 chances on the power play. They couldn't do anything with it. And it wasn't like the Hawks, penalty killed it like a shades of 2013.
They were asking to get beat last night. Yeah,
they were. They absolutely were. And if it wasn't such a shorthanded Hawks team already, and then even more shorthanded, the two people you lose in the middle of the game being so important, Hawks probably come away and win that game. I ended up having some the Hawks money line in pocket live, and I went with exactly what I kind of mentioned, that if this game is close, in the middle of the contest, you still would have a chance to get a reasonably high number. Now, I didn't have plus 300 or higher in my pocket. I had plus 195, but all the momentum was going their way when I made that wager. So, still was able to try and get in and have something decent of value in pocket. Didn't have to play that before the game, but still a hard fought effort by the Hawks. And now it's just going to be wait and see what happens with number 98. I'm hearing a bunch of rumors. I haven't heard anything official, so that's why I haven't tweeted out a single thing. I haven't posted anything until I hear something that seems relatively official or from a credible source of mine. Then I'll post something. But hopefully it's not the worst case scenario, which would be a broken jaw, which would mean weeks out, possibly as long as the rest of the season, and that would be incredibly unfortunate, especially for those who are holding Bedard Calder Trophy tickets, because as much of a lock as it might have seemed, an injury now throws everything in limbo, because you got some other rookies that are still in high consideration at some decent prices. So if that's something to look at, maybe I'm sure the market's on hold right now, but once we hear how long Bedard's going to be out, that might be something to target from a betting standpoint, looking at the Calder's future market to see who those other two finalists might be, and maybe one of them can leap past Bedard now and get that win.
Yeah, it would certainly open the door if it's a long-term injury, no question for Bedard. But yeah, it was just nice to see, something like that. It was nice to see that happen, but it was nice to see after what happened with Bedard, how it was handled properly on both sides. And and I said it on social media, on Twitter X about it, and our friend of the show actually was on our show earlier this season, Danny DeKaiser, liked my post that I said about the Conor Bedard and Brendan Smith and Nick Foligno and how it was well handled. So you're talking about a long-time NHL defenseman that's basically saying, yeah, Ian, you're right. That's how it's handled. That's how it's done. That's how to properly adjudicate, a situation like that involving Conor Bedard last night. Zach, I don't even know if I should ask you about last night's games. You don't usually get to watch them, but do you have anything on last night?
I bet the Jets live when they were down, so I was happy about that.
There you go.
I wasn't watching, though. I was just box score watching. I was actually watching a little bit more NBA last night. As we were talking earlier, I had some other bets in for the entertainment aspect of it. But
we were talking before the show. This guy's like 4 or 5 parlays a night. He's sending them to me all the time, and he's usually missing one. And there's usually one pick ruins the whole parlay. He's got one of those each night. Know how parlays, yeah.
It's fun for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Luke Richardson, the coach of the Blackhawks, had kind of the best take on the hit. He thought that Smith really just stopped even. And when you watch it more and more, it didn't even look like he was trying to hit him that hard. And Bedard never saw him because of the forward that was in front of him, and then kind of had his head down at the same time as Smith came in. So I'd be pretty surprised if it was a broken jaw, but that would be pretty terrible, obviously. Like, he didn't seem like he was in crazy amount of pain, but he did grab his face like instantly. Right. So yeah, maybe it's some teeth or something lower or something. They were just being cautious with them. Who really knows? But I think we'll probably get a take on it tomorrow. I think we'll find out some information. But I almost feel like if it was a broken jaw, I would be getting the news sooner than later, because I don't think they really have anything to hide on a front like that. So
true, yeah.
Luke Richardson, after the game, we won't know until he gets examined back in Chicago. That's basically
that's what he finished off with. So yeah, so I would think we'd probably find out tomorrow. I don't think the Hawks play today.
Yeah, well, we might find out later this evening. Being that it's Conor Bedard, this is something like another injury. Yeah, it'd be game day thing, but no, we could find out something probably within the next couple hours to maybe even later this evening. That's not shocking.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Like, let's obviously hope he's not injured. It's been great to watch him play and entertaining for all the Hawk fans and the rest of the NHL. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's no question. That would be like Alex said, unfortunate is the word. No question, if he is unable to get back onto the ice anytime soon. All right, we're going to be getting back. The NHL, I should say, is going to be getting back onto the ice very soon. In fact, the first game of the Saturday card is going to be at the top of the hour. So let's get into it. Calgary Flames, Philadelphia Flyers. We've got Calgary minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. It's actually a rematch of a recent head-to-head meeting between these teams. Just met last week, New Year's Eve in Calgary. Flames getting a 4-3 win. Bit of a tough spot that was for the Philadelphia Flyers, the end of that road trip. So a little revenge situation here for a Flyers team that's actually lost 4 in a row now. And one of those losses was that road loss to Calgary. They lost to Edmonton 5-2 after that. They come back home against Columbus, and shockingly can't hold a 2-0 lead at home against the Blue Jackets. Jackets tie it up, and then Columbus wins 3-2 in a shootout. So a little bit of a funk right here for this Flyers team. And, this is what can happen with the Flyers, where you're looking at some of their numbers and you're seeing they're still controlling the flow in some of these games, including the Columbus game where they outshot the Jackets 41-28. But Philly is not a gifted offensive team. There's going to be games where the work ethic is there, they're carrying the play, and there's not enough production offensively to show for it. And that is the problem that Philadelphia sometimes runs into at this point in time. On the other side, you've got Calgary coming off a very impressive road win against Nashville, 6-3, and that was UC Saros in net, and certainly they were able to get to him early and often. So that's the third straight win for Calgary. When the team's on a win streak like this, I don't like going against teams that are rolling right now. That being said, Philadelphia is playing with a little desperation, little urgency. Losing to Calgary last week on the road. I'd expect a pretty good effort from them here in this game. So I'd also expect this to be a pretty close, contested, competitive game. So I do have a sprinkle on the draw, and that's really it for this early game. A little bit on the draw. We almost got overtime in the game in Calgary, if you'll remember. It was very close to going to OT, but the Flames hung on for the 4-3 win. I cashed a ticket with the draw in Philly's last game against Columbus. It's now 5 of the last 10 Flyers games that have gone past regulation. So just a little small shot on the draw for me in this game. That's about it. And Blake Coleman to score a goal. We're going to keep riding Blake Coleman. He's rolling right now for the Flames. There's no question.
Snubbed for the All-Star, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. Sharon Govich, too.
If you have to take one player from every team, and the Flames are having the type of year that they are, and Lindholm, in my opinion, is having a down year.
Yeah.
I think they should have given it to Coleman. He's got the most goals on the team, most points. He's a plus 17 or something on a team that's not a plus team. I don't know. I thought he was snubbed a bit. I get it, but
especially in a year where you're seeing all kinds of weird, Burakovsky's the fucking All-Star representative for Seattle. How about that?
Some odd stuff. So
there you go. Or no, not Burakovsky. Sorry, Bjorkstrand. I think Bjorkstrand's the All-Star.
That was a great video too. I don't know if you saw his reaction to being named to the All-Star game, but it didn't seem like he was really happy he had to cancel his family vacation.
Yeah. No doubt. This is a weird total for me because Calgary is kind of trending over. Series history is trending over, believe it or not. But keep in mind that Calgary game, Flyers, Flames in Calgary, that was a weird game. That was going to be going under big time. And then there was this weird, crazy explosion of goals in the third period to put that game over the total. So I'm neutral on the total. I can see it going over. I can see it going under. So just the draw for me. Alex, what do you think here? Flames, Flyers.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would be playing right now. Be the draw. I mean, we'll be on the air for at least the first start of this contest, so I'll have the game on, and maybe if I look at anything live, I'll put it in the chat and I'll mention it. But as of right now, just the draw was the only thing I looked at. And in a kind of an early start, like I said, Philly's used to these earlier start times. Calgary, not so much. So I kind of want to see where the Flames' feet are in the first kind of 5 or 10 minutes of the contest.
No, I agree with that. There's no question. They play more of these, especially at this time of day, 1 p.m. Eastern. This is 11 a.m. back home in Calgary, obviously, when this game starts. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. And you're right. Colorado's played a lot of these, home games, these matinee affairs on a Saturday afternoon at home. So they're very accustomed to this. So I think situationals favor the Flyers. Revenge spot, they're more comfortable in this time frame playing a game like this early in the day. What do you think here in this one for your Flames, Zach?
Yeah, I agree with both your guys' points. I'm not really sure what I would side with. I don't really bet usually on the Flames too often, but I think it's something that I would look at live if I was interested. I don't know if it's about the over. Like you said, I think the draw might be a good look. Markstrom's been playing pretty good, so I feel like it's going to be a tight contest. But in typical Flames fashion, I would think they'd probably lose this one, winning 3 and playing a team that lost 4 in a row. But Flyers have also had a pretty horrendous record at home too. So not really any good takes on this game for me, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Just cheer your team as a fan. That's all I do.
Hope Markey stays playing pretty good because I want his stock to go up, and then maybe they can trade him.
Yeah, well, there you
never
go.
Know.
That's not a bad enough. That's not a bad theory to roll with, and hope.
Yeah, you never know. Someone might throw a lot at him for him if they need him or something like that. So.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Flames and Flyers draw Coleman prop That's really what I like the most in that game, to score a goal. He's been really good. All right, the other afternoon game, a little more glamorous than the first game. This should be a good one, actually. Florida Panthers, Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado minus 130, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. The Avalanche, what a comeback win for them in Dallas the other night. Didn't look good. They were down 4-2. They roar back. They tie it with the extra attacker late in the third. And then a 2-on-0 rush. I don't know how you give that up if you're Dallas, but Nathan McKinnon is not the guy you want to see on a 2-on-0 break if you're a goaltender. And Wedgwood found out the hard way as he scores McKinnon in OT to complete the comeback and give Colorado a 5-4 win in overtime in that game. Back-to-back overtime wins for Colorado. Now they take on a Florida Panthers team that this is a run of dominance, really, by the Florida Panthers. They aren't just winning games. They're winning games, and they're easily controlling the game. You go back to the first game of this 6-game win streak that they're on, the 4-2 win at home against Vegas, 42-25, the shot advantage. They outplayed Tampa and outshot them in the 3-2 win. The Rangers game, that was pretty even, but 4-3, they found a way in that one. Montreal carried the play, 4-1. Arizona badly carried the play against the Coyotes, 4-1. And they dominated Vegas. After they got that kill, 5-on-3, back-to-back 5-on-3 penalty kills by Florida, down 1-0. They dominated the game from that point on. They took over that game. They were extremely impressive. So they're not only winning these games, they are controlling the games. They are dictating the terms. This is an extended run of outstanding play and dominance right now by the Florida Panthers in this game. I cashed a ticket with them, best bet on this show on Thursday in the win against Vegas. And I'm compelled to roll back with them here as a road dog in Colorado. And I know the Avalanche, as we've said all season, they've played their best hockey here at Ball Arena, 16-4 at home. I don't take betting against Colorado in this building lightly. But you look at Colorado, St. Louis, San Jose, 2 pretty bad teams. You escaped against the Islanders. You probably should have lost against Dallas, but you found a way in that one to get the job done. So I like what I see from Florida. They're playing great hockey. Now, I am concerned that a couple of absences potentially for them today, but they haven't been ruled out either one. Alexander Barkov, the captain, Evan Rodriguez, who's played well on the top line. Both of them are game time decisions for Florida. Obviously, it would be a blow if they lose one or both of those guys for this game. But let's not forget, Barkov left the game against Vegas. They were a forward short the rest of the game, and they still dominated, obviously, a very capable Golden Knights team in that one. So I like the way the Florida Panthers are going. I'm back on them today. The Cats, Steve Goldstein, Goldie on his great Twitter handle for the TV voice of the Panthers, Steve Goldstein, Goldie on Ice. That's a good one. Goldie on Ice is his X handle. As he always says, the cardiac cats when he's talking about the Florida Panthers. Yeah, I'm going to be on them here. Plus, I like the way they're going. And I almost think this is a crusade, Alex, for them. You took down the defending Stanley Cup champions. They look like they're playing with purpose on this road trip. Like, now we want to take down the champs from 2 years ago, Colorado. Another litmus test type of game for this Florida team. And I think they're up for the challenge. So Florida right now, +1. I actually got a better price, +115. I still think it's playable at this price. I also lean over. I have a smaller bet on the over in this one. Series history is dictated. We've seen some goals between these two teams. So a little bit on the over, a little bit stronger on Florida. And yes, for those that are requesting the Panther sound in the chat. Alex, what do you think here, Panthers and Avs?
Yeah, I'm staying away from a side here. This is definitely going to be a good, fun game to watch. I'm glad this is a kind of middle afternoon contest. But I like the totals here. Like I said, I like this first period over. I laid $1.30 with the over 1.5, and I also laid $1.10 with over 6 for the full game. I think we're going to see some good pace back and forth. 7-3 the last 10 meetings to the first period over as well. So I think we see goals here early, and we see goals often. So I'm on the over first period, over full game, and I will sprinkle a little bit on both teams to score in the first period as well.
Yeah, you don't get a 6 very often with Colorado in particular. Like this, I was a little surprised we didn't see 6.5 here. We saw 6, a flat 6 with this total. So I say take advantage of it for sure. Especially the last 2 meetings have gone over the total, 5-4, 5-3 final scores. No question. That's what we have seen. And by the way, in terms of head-to-head, there's not many teams that go into Colorado and can say we've had success in this building. Florida's won 3 of the last 4 trips to Colorado, actually, including last year. They beat the Avalanche 5-4 here at Ball Arena. So Florida's actually 3-1 in their last 4 trips to Colorado. So they've actually played pretty well here in Denver in recent years. What do you think here in this one, Zach? A good matchup, Florida-Colorado.
Yeah, it is a good matchup. But both teams are riding highs right now. Obviously, Florida's been doing something special here on the road, but I think I'm going to ride with Colorado in this one. They're 16-4 at home. It's coming up to the All-Star game here. I think players really turn it on around this time of the year. So I'm going to go with Colorado. I like the over at 6. I don't think you can really argue that too much. So I'm hoping it's one of those high entertaining, almost like that Pittsburgh Bruins game the other night. I kind of want that kind of first period. Would be awesome for these two teams.
That would be nice.
News, just making sure it's actual statement. In fact, the Blackhawks social media has talked about it. The update: fractured jaw officially for Conor Bedard. So it's definitely going to be longer term injury. My goodness,
wild.
That's a shame.
Glass jaw.
Yep. Fractured jaw means that weeks, if not months.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking at for Conor Bedard being out. Not for the season, but man, it's going to be significant time. There's no question. So yeah, very disappointing. Wow. And talk about a guy that's having a great start to his career, and apparently the Nick Foligno news isn't great either. Fractured left finger for him. So yeah, unfortunate, and we sympathize for our guy Alex here with that news. That's it's unfortunate. It's just tough. And those are two. I mean, Nick Foligno's a heart and soul emotional cog for this team. And of course, we know what Conor Bedard is to this team. So tough day for the Blackhawks. And now it's going to be even harder for them moving forward here. You know, they've already had a tough schedule. They've been kind of beaten up by it. They've been struggling lately. The struggles aren't going to get any easier. It's not going to get any easier for them, I should say, to get out of their struggles. With what we're seeing, obviously, with the injury news just breaking about both Bedard and Foligno moving forward. All right, the rest of the games, by the way, for props in this game, Florida, Colorado, I mean, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, they're all heating up. They're all really on top of their game at the same time, so I wouldn't argue with props involving any of them. Colorado, the one that stands out, Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin is heating up. He got a couple of goals last game, 3 goals in the last 2 games, multi-point games for Drouin in each of the last 2 games. So I'm on Drouin goal over plus 300 still for Drouin to score a goal in this game today, which is outstanding value considering how he's been producing the last few games. Yeah, I found plus 330 at FanDuel for Drouin to score a goal. To get an assist is a good price, plus 156. And because he's got 2 points in each of the last 2 games, back-to-back multi-point games, I sprinkled a little plus 500 for over 1.5 points today on Drouin as well. That's what I call great value. Again, back-to-back games with multiple points. So we will see how that one goes. And great segue with John Massey mentioning the Jack Hughes injury news because he left the game last night against Chicago. Man, that game was not for the faint of heart. My goodness. Walking wounded everywhere. Coming out of that Blackhawks and Devils game last night. Jack Hughes, we won't know his status till later today, which is the segue to the first of the night games on this Saturday card. Vancouver, New Jersey, Hughes Bowl, the sequel. Hughes Bowl Part 2, whatever you want to call it. We've got the Devils minus 115, home favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. There's a lot I like betting-wise in this game. Let's start with, obviously, the situationals. New Jersey back-to-back for them after that hard-fought, gutted-out win in a very violent game filled with emotions, filled with vitriol in that game against the Chicago Blackhawks. Clearly, things started to ramp up in that department after the Conor Bedard hit from Brendan Smith on him. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes tonight. But, you know, you look at this New Jersey team, that game, you wouldn't have thought that, you know, the Chicago game would take a lot out of them, but there's no doubt it did. And now you don't know if Jack Hughes is going to be available and on the ice for Hughes Bowl Part 2 tonight. He's going to be a game-time decision after leaving last night's game with an undisclosed injury. So that's something to monitor. They're on a back-to-back. Oh, and on the flip side, here are the Vancouver Canucks rolling into town, not only with the rest advantage, but off a 2-1 loss Thursday night against the St. Louis Blues. And you know how good Vancouver has been off a loss this year. I mean, the numbers and the record is absolutely off the charts for Vancouver and how good they've been in a bounce back mode and in a bounce back spot all season. So this is a bit of a tricky game, I think, for New Jersey. And then you factor in that Devils beat them 6-5. It was a wild game, too. If you remember Hughes Bowl Part 1 out in Van City, that game was just off, on meds or something. Like the scoring was all over the place. It was a wild, wide open affair. The Devils prevailed 6-5 after Vancouver came back and tied that game. It was such an entertaining hockey game. I think Vancouver gets payback tonight, and I think the situationals are in their favor. Still think at the moment they're a little bit the better team at the moment right now than New Jersey, and we know even with New Jersey's home record, it's not great. And to be honest, as Alex alluded to earlier in the show, that they were ripe to be beaten last night. That was not a vintage Devils performance. They were not sharp, and I still have issues with their goaltending, although you would think with this being the back-to-back and the fact they used Vitek Vanacek last night that you're probably going to see Nico Daws tonight. And that is the one concern here is that Nico Daws has been good. His first 2 starts here in the NHL this season. He beat Ottawa and he beat Washington. And he looked pretty good in those games. But I think this is going to be a taller order. And I like getting Vancouver at this price, and especially off a loss where they have been just so good this year. So I am on the Canucks plus 100. I got it exactly at even money in this game. And I'm going to go to the over here. 6.5. That's another thing about the Canucks Devils. It's not only that, we saw 6-5 earlier this season between these two teams, but the series history, it's been one over after another between these two teams. 6-5, 5-4, 5-2, 6-3, 7-2, all in the last 5 meetings. Now, the Devils have owned the Canucks, 9-1, the last 10 meetings in favor of New Jersey. But I'm going to look past that tonight. I really think this is a difficult ask for New Jersey. They got beaten up through the physical ringer last night in that game against Chicago. And I think it's a tall order against a very good Vancouver team to roar back 24 hours later and try to play again. And I think it's a big advantage in that department for Vancouver. So Canucks plus 100 over 6.5. And I got a shit ton of props in this game, many of which, as you could expect, involving the Hughes brothers. But we'll get to that in a minute. Alex, what do you think here? Hughes Bowl, Part 2, Canucks Devils.
Yeah, there's no way I could bet Vancouver here because the trend that I'm seeing right now is that New Jersey's won the last 15 meetings, unless this thing is completely off here on Killer Sports. The last win
9-1. 9-1. No, Vancouver did get a win in there. They did. They won 6-3 at home, March in 2022.
Yeah. Which is interesting because, I guess that's what I'm looking at is completely wrong. But either way, this has been a very one-sided history.
Not a good day to be Killer Sports, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Because I don't even see that entire game listed. So that's who knows. The site has been weird lately. But like I said, this is just I can't take a side here. I'm not backing New Jersey second off of a back-to-back. And like I said, with that kind of a crazy game, between just like I said, they looked like crap. If that had been a better team they were playing, a healthier team they were playing, that they would have lost that game easily. They would have lost that game in regulation. And so, that's a kind of a motivating factor of, especially if they're going to lose Hughes too. And like I said, that kind of derails the evening of this, whole Hughes Bowl situation. Now they can kind of put that aside potentially if he's not available in the lineup and say, hey, look, let's all the fanfare aside. We got to, deal with what we're dealing with right now. We're missing him. We got to take care of business. So I think you might get a more business-like approach if Hughes isn't in the lineup, even though that does hurt them overall from a talent perspective. But on the flip side, like I said, Vancouver just has struggled against this team for whatever reason. Only thing I'm looking at here would be first period over in game. I don't want to lay $1.40 or $1.45. I think we can wait a little bit and get a better adjusted price in game. But I definitely want to go full game over, even with 6.5. You could try and wait and grab a 6 or a 5.5, but if you do that, you don't look for plus money. Just try and lay the same price you would with a 6.5. So you lay $1.25 or $1.30. So this is more of an in-game, kind of a situation for me. I would probably, if I sprinkle anything pregame, it would be both teams to score first period. And like I said, if I had to look at a side, it would have to be New Jersey or nothing.
Yeah, and New Jersey, it is a dominant series history. That's that is troubling for someone on the Canucks as I am. But I feel if they're going to beat New Jersey at some point, today's as good a spot and a time as any. And this team's just been money in the bank off a loss. They really have been. Rick Tocchet has somehow gotten this team to refocus and be at their best when they didn't play great the game before. And that was definitely the case against St. Louis. I thought that was lethargic all over from Vancouver the other night against St. Louis. I'd expect better. And you're right, John Massey is someone that also had a small piece of Holtz and McLeod props in that game last night against Chicago. I'd be disappointed to see that line split up. Their chemistry is off the charts, and that's only their third line, Lazar and McLeod and Holtz. They've been great. Every time those three have been together, they get things rolling in the offensive zone. They're generating chances. They're hemming in the opponent with the forecheck, and they make things happen, and they produce, and they chip in offensively. So that line's been great. But because of an injury, if Jack Hughes doesn't play, you're right. You could see that line split up. And are they as effective, those three guys individually, if they're split up, if their line is split up tonight in this game against Vancouver? It definitely is something to consider here in this game tonight because they have been great. I've always liked McLeod in particular because he scores. He can set up his teammates. He's a physical presence. He'll drop the gloves, too. He's fought many times before in the past. Not scared to do that. He is turning into a heck of a player, Michael McLeod. And I've mentioned Michael McLeod with plus 400 and all kinds of goal prop value with him multiple times on this show. Keeps getting better, and he's another great goal prop value, in my opinion, tonight in this game, regardless of where he is in the lineup. I hope he's still with Holtz and Lazar. Their chemistry is evident, but there might be some changes if Jack Hughes is ruled out. What do you think here in this one, Zach? Vancouver, New Jersey.
Yeah, I think I'm going to side with the Canucks tonight. I think they're going to get a good bounce back. That's where my head's at. I know that they've struggled against the Devils, but I don't really think too much into that kind of stuff. I just think about the day of the game. So I'm thinking Canucks first period. I can get them at plus 170 and then regulation time on the Canucks.
Think too, and I'm usually a big series history guy, and there's not many instances where I'll go against something as strong as this, where it's like 9-1 in the last 10 meetings in favor of New Jersey. But I feel it's warranted here tonight in this game. And by the way, for the Hughes props, like put an asterisk beside Jack Hughes because we don't know if he's going to play, but Quinn Hughes goal plus 475. I sprinkled on that. Quinn Hughes over 1.5 points, is pretty good value tonight in this game as well. And then Luke Hughes for the New Jersey Devils. We're on goal prop again at a great price. We're talking plus 600 for Luke Hughes to score a goal, plus 160 to get an assist. How about over 1.5 points, Luke Hughes? And I sprinkled on this too as well, plus 700 in this game tonight for Luke Hughes to get 2+ points in this matchup. I think he got 2 points in the first. No, he got a goal. I don't think he got an assist that night in the first meeting against Vancouver, but he did score, I remember. So over 1.5 points is definitely live, I think, for Luke Hughes. And again, you're getting plus 700. Let me see what else. Quinn Hughes over 1.5 points was plus 270, by the way, with that. And, Quinn Hughes plus 850 if you think he can get 3 points tonight in that. So I played around with the point milestone props for the Hughes brothers tonight in this game as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how it goes. The time estimate, Rico, you're right, currently is 4 to 6 weeks for Bedard with the fractured jaw. And that's kind of what I thought. It would be weeks, about a month to 2 months. And that's exactly what it looks like it's going to be at this point, at least as of now, for Conor Bedard. So, like I said, tough day for Chicago with the injury news breaking just now. All right, Tampa Bay and Boston. We've got the Bruins minus 160 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. We had Jimmy Murphy on Beantown Friday yesterday on the show, and he said that didn't look like Boston was fully, dialed in for Pittsburgh Thursday. And it sure looked like it in that 6-5 loss, that's for sure. Thinking that maybe they're got their eye toward Tampa, a team they've got a history with, a team that's always a hard-fought, competitive, tight, close game. I could definitely see that being the case. Cashed a ticket with Tampa Bay against Minnesota the other night on the road, believe it or not, where I've been reluctant to back the Lightning all season long because they've struggled on the road. But let's be real. That was not necessarily so much pro Tampa Bay on the road. That was fading Minnesota and all the injuries that they've got right now and the struggles they're going through. They got an AHL lineup. It's like the Iowa Wild have migrated to St. Paul right now with that team. That's what we're looking at with them. That's why I was on Tampa there. Do I trust Tampa again on the road to go 2 in a row together? No, especially with the Bruins off a bad game. Bruins actually lost a heartbreaker last time they played the Lightning. Remember, they were up late. Tampa tied it very late. Remember, like seconds left in the third period, and then Tampa won in overtime. I think Bruins get him back. But again, you're talking about minus 160. Not the greatest value. If it drops a little bit more, I would take Boston. I strongly lean Bruins. Price is a little rich, though. What do you think here, Alex? Tampa Bay, Boston.
Yeah, I like both teams to score here. I like the over in the first period. I like the over in the full game, and I like the draw. I think this could be a really good kind of back and forth, kind of a crazy battle. Like you say, it makes sense to see, Boston shouldn't be looking ahead to anybody, but it makes sense that they would be geared up, always ready for Tampa Bay. The series history has been pretty much all Bruins for the most part. The Lightning did win 2 of the last 3, and their last meeting back in November, that game went past regulation, a 5-4 win for Tampa Bay. So I could see another close, high-scoring affair here. So give me overs in the first period and full game. Both teams score in the first period and the regulation draw.
Yeah, oddly enough, I didn't have the draw on my radar here, but and after hearing your salient points as always, Alex, yeah, I could see it. It has the potential to be a close game. What I often think of, though, with the Bruins is that when the Bruins give up 6 and they lose like they did against Pittsburgh, they might want to bury a team. So I also had the thought in the back of my mind, maybe this is something like 4-1, 4-2 Boston tonight. I could obviously see that coming off just how un-Bruin-like, that performance was for them on Thursday against Pittsburgh. What do you think here, Zach? Tampa Bay, Boston.
I'm staying away from this one. I've had bad luck all year with anything involving the Lightning, so I'm staying away. Maybe the over. That's probably about it, though. I'm staying away. I've had bad luck with the Lightning. If I picked their side or against them, it's seemed to bite me this year. So,
well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, nothing wrong with that, especially on a 12-game card. Don't have to bet everything. That's for sure. Prop-wise in this game, I guess I don't have too much on this game because Tampa Bay, a lot of their depth forwards are not producing right now as much. It's mostly been, your Point and Kucherov and those type of players. I do want to point out, you're right. Someone mentioned it in the chat here. Darren Radish with the 2 goals the other night. Be careful about thinking that's going to continue. I mean, that was his first 2 goals of the season against Minnesota the other night. So I'm going to need to see a little more evidence before I'm thinking Darren Radish is turning into the next Paul Coffey or Bobby Orr from the blue line. So I've got to calm down with that a little bit. Again, those were his first 2 goals of the season. Yeah, DeBruska's been good. Morgan Geekie, I'm always interested in. Coyle, those kind of props, no doubt. I'm interested on the Boston sides. And JVR looks like he's not going to play tonight, by the way, for the Bruins. So there could be a little bit of a lineup shakeup for them here tonight in this game as well. It's looking right now that with JVR out. Oh, Trent Frederick is one I would definitely, I think of all the Bruins tonight, Trent Frederick, very undervalued. He's been 3 goals and 4 points in the last 3 games for him. So again, we've talked about Frederick, his uptick in offensive production, undervalued as far as his props right now because of it. All right, next up here on this Saturday card, we've got the New York Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens in La Belle Province. We've got the Rangers minus 200 road favorites, total 6 here in this game. Montreal comes back home. Pretty tough spot. I just didn't have enough faith in Buffalo, and especially the price. I didn't love it. Buffalo was like minus 150 to minus 160 in that game. It's not exactly the price I liked with Buffalo, but credit to the Sabres. They took advantage of a Montreal team off the high of the Dallas win to wrap up that road trip. They come back home and they lay an egg. They weren't very good at all. In fact, Montreal, they get ripped apart. In fact, not just lose to Buffalo, but get ripped apart in that game. A lot of talk with St. Louis and with the players about how they need to get better at home. I mean, they are 2-9 in their last 11 home games. And you would think the Bell Center, especially when Montreal's good, one of the best home ice advantages in the NHL, hasn't always been that way for them. And it hasn't been that way for a while. They've really had a tough time winning consistently on home ice. And again, just 2 home wins in their last 11 home games, 1-4 in their last 5 games. So it's a struggle right now for Montreal, and they're taking on a Rangers team that bounced back from a very rough night against Carolina, and they beat Chicago 4-1 on Thursday night. We'll see how this game plays out. As far as the goaltending, I kind of thought all along we would see Jonathan Quick tonight, and that has indeed been confirmed. So Jonathan Quick confirmed in net for the Rangers. Samuel Montembeault confirmed in net for the Montreal Canadiens in this game. I kind of lean to where John's thinking with the Montreal team total, but I'm going to go with the full game over here in this game because I don't trust Montreal defensively right now to keep the Rangers off the board either. I mean, you start to look at it. The Montreal Canadiens gave up 6 to Buffalo, 3 to Dallas, 4 to Tampa, 4 to Florida, 5 to Carolina. You know what I mean? And they've gone 6-1 to the over in their last 7 games. Not getting the saves, not getting the defensive play they need right now, the Montreal Canadiens. So I agree with an over sentiment, and I think Montreal can chip in because when it comes to Jonathan Quick, an outstanding season overall, don't get me wrong, and still very good numbers, 2.41 goals against, 916 save percentage, but you cut it down to the shorter term, and Jonathan Quick has given up 4 more goals in 3 of his last 5 starts. So he hasn't nearly been as effective lately. We've seen some regression in his play in between the pipes. So I think Rangers score against a struggling Montreal D, and I definitely think Montreal can find some offense tonight as well. So over 6 for me in this one. Alex, Rangers, Canadiens.
Yeah, I'm keeping it simple. I'm going Rangers team total over 3.5, laying $1.20. Like I said, I can see where, if this game does go back and forth and get completely out of hand, and Quick has been playing lights out. But, we're kind of waiting for that ball to drop, and maybe he, lays an egg and has a bad start at some point. If that ends up being here and this game goes back and forth, at least I can feel comfortable enough. All I need is just 4 goals out of the Rangers in this spot. So just playing the team total over.
Stuff indeed. As far as player props, in terms of there's someone mentioned someone here in the chat, but yeah. I'm trying to see. Well, Yoel Armia. That's true. You're right. There was someone I know on Montreal was a depth forward that has been putting the puck in the net lately. He has been. There's no doubt. As far as on the New York Rangers side, Lafreniere, definitely Quebec kid going back to Montreal. You'd expect a good game from him. Panarin, it goes without saying, is on fire. And don't sleep on Vinny Trocheck right now either for the New York Rangers, especially from point prop standpoint. Sprinkle on over 1.5 points with this guy. He has 7 points in the last 3 games, and 2 of those games were a 3-point game and a 4-point game for him. So Vincent Trocheck is really, really, and it's not so much goals, it's more assists for him, but he is definitely really facilitating well for the Rangers right now. 27 assists on the season for him, 36 points in 37 games. So Vinny Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere, Armia, Josh Anderson, and Slavkovsky for Montreal, because I think they're undervalued based on their position in the lineup. And, of course, Cole Caulfield, goes without saying. Cool interview with him on the Chicklets earlier this week, too. Good kid. And having a very good start to his NHL career, no doubt. Zach, what do you think here, Rangers, Canadiens?
I think I'm looking towards the first period over 1.5. And then I might jump on a couple player props, probably Lafreniere. Point, I think, is at -110, so not too bad going home. Like you said, I always like that kind of thing. And then I'm thinking Cole Caulfield 2 points as well. Get that at some pretty good plus money. I think it's like plus 240 or something, so I'm hoping he has a big one.
All right, we know he's capable of having a big one too, absolutely, for the Montreal Canadiens at any given moment. And I think it just sets up that both teams will be able to contribute offensively in this one. All right, next up, the beleaguered, banged up, shorthanded, depleted, whatever word and adjective you want to use, Minnesota, that's what they are right now. They head to Columbus to take on the Jackets. The Wild -125, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Now, there is some good news for Minnesota. Matt Zuccarello, one of their walking wounded, is back. He was on the ice for morning skate earlier today, and he will be back in the lineup, returning from a lengthy absence for the Minnesota Wild. And not a moment too soon if you're a Minnesota Wild fan, because it has been a rough stretch here with this team just riddled by injuries. So to get Matt Zuccarello back is a welcome sight, to be sure, for the Minnesota Wild. He hasn't played since December the 16th, so it's been approximately a 3-week absence for him, missing the last 9 games for the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, 28 points for him in 28 games, so he's been a point-per-game player for the Wild, back in the lineup, and it looks like he will be slotted back to the top line for Minnesota with Marcus Johansson and Joel Eriksson Ek. And it looks like Boldy, Well, actually, I don't think they've updated this line combinations, because I know a few of the Wild people were saying that Rossi's up on the top line. So check on that. But Zuccarello will definitely be
Rossi is on the
top line. Yeah, Rossi's probably a good prop tonight, because I think
The
every time
zucchini
he's
is
been on the
back.
top line, every time he's been on the top line, he's produced. So not a bad option. That being said, I know Zuccarello will be a boost for this team. I'm still not prepared to lay a price with them on the road right now. That is for sure. With still Foligno day-to-day, Marcus Foligno, that is, day-to-day, Kaprizov long-term IR, Spurgeon and Brodin. How many times have we been on this show, Alex, talking about Spurgeon and Brodin are two of their, if not their two best defensemen? And here they are again, both of them at the same time out due to injury on the IR. That's not a situation I want to endorse Minnesota with. They got to run poor Marc-Andre Fleury into the ground. He's doing the best he can. But again, you're talking about a guy that's, in the twilight of his career and that's approaching 40, a guy that has definitely, played a lot of games, and he's got to play every other night now. That's a concern here. And I continue to say this about Columbus. That team plays hard. They don't always play well. That's their problem. But they do play hard, and they have played hard lately, in my opinion. And we've seen some, baby steps of growth, development, and improvement from this team. And look at the schedule they've played. I said this the last time Columbus played against Philly on Thursday's show, where I made a case for the Jackets and for the draw in that game. And I said they played Toronto twice. They played New Jersey twice. They played Boston. They played a very, very difficult schedule, a very tough schedule, Columbus. And in a lot of these games, they were competitive. They beat Toronto twice. They took New Jersey to overtime. They have been a very, very feisty team right now, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think that continues here. I'm going to take a small shot here with the Jackets here, plus 105. It's a small home underdog, and I like the draw here as well. I cashed the draw with the Columbus-Philly game. I mean, Columbus is a draw magnet if there ever was one right now. 6 of their last 10 games have gone past regulation. We know Minnesota, with their banged-up, depleted ways in this 4-game losing streak, they're going to have a tough time ever, winning at all, let alone winning by margin. So, I'd expect this to be competitive. I'd expect Minnesota to get a little emotional boost at least, and obviously a boost on the ice with Zuccarello back. So I definitely think the draw is live in this game, but I'm also going to take a shot with Columbus here, plus 105. Alex, what do you think here? Wild Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I like the draw here as well. I grabbed plus 325 to bet online, but I also think we see goals early in this contest. I like the first period over and both teams to score. I got minus $1.30 for the over 1.5. I got plus 160 for both teams to score in the first period. And like I said, the defensive woes for Minnesota, missing those key blue liners, that's still an issue. And with Columbus, I just don't trust. With Tarasov, he has his ups and downs as well. So this 2 shaky goaltenders, 2 questionable just teams overall. But I do think we see some exciting pace early in this contest. So I like both teams to score in the first period and the first period over. But I also think things will settle down over time, and we can end up seeing this one go past regulation. So I'll be on the draw as well.
And yeah, I'm not surprised to see Danil Tarasov back in net for Columbus. He actually played very well against Philadelphia. I think it was one of his best games I've seen him play, because they did get outshot in that game, but he held the fort. He didn't let it get to 3-0 for the Flyers, and the next thing you know, the Blue Jackets end up coming back and winning that game. So not at all surprised to see Tarasov back in net. Be careful with the full game under. I think there is. I like what Alex is thinking, that the goals you may see some early. But full game, I'm not so sure. I mean, Minnesota 3-0-1 to the under in their last 4 games. We know they've struggled to score goals. And believe it or not, Columbus has gone under in 3 straight games. And they've played a little better defensively, and their goaltending's been a little bit improved these last few games. So I'm with Alex. If I look at an over, it's only early in this game. I'm a little hesitant with the full game here. What do you think here in this one, Zach? Minnesota, Columbus.
Yeah, I think the Wild are going to bounce back, so I'm going to ride with the Wild tonight. They've got a lot of injuries, but Columbus is one of those inconsistent teams. So just kind of betting more with my heart than my head maybe. But, yeah, I'm going with the Wild tonight.
All right, Minnesota to snap out of it. I will say this about Minnesota. They have faced some pretty tough teams. This is not one of the tougher games on their schedule for the Minnesota Wild, but I still think they're just missing way too much artillery to be trusted as road chalk, even against Columbus. We'll see if that is indeed the case tonight when they take on the Blue Jackets. All right, next up, can the Buffalo Sabres, for fuck's sakes, can the Buffalo Sabres win 2 bloody hockey games in a row. I mean, it is absolutely insane. They cannot put 2 wins together. They obviously won convincingly against Montreal in their last game, 6-1. And now they will look to do something that has totally and utterly eluded them all season long, the ability to win 2 in a row as they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh minus 160, home favorites, 6.5 the total. I mean, this is, if I were on the Buffalo Sabres, or I was the coaching staff, I was on the coaching staff, I was in upper management, I would be embarrassed by this stat. I actually finally, because I know it's been bad, but I wanted to say, how bad has it been for this Sabres team off a win this season? I counted it up, Alex. The full season stats for the Buffalo Sabres off a win this year. You know what the record is for the Buffalo Sabres after a win this year in their next game? 1-14.
Wow.
1-14 for the Buffalo Sabres off a win this season. They have strung 2 wins together one single time this year. That is it. That is absolutely awful. 1-14 for the Buffalo Sabres this season off a win. I can't touch them. I'm not touching them here. Can't. I mean, they have shown me that kind of body of work after a win. There is absolutely no way I'm trusting them here. Now, I don't want anything to do with Pittsburgh minus 160. They are struggling to keep the puck out of their net. That's an erratic, up and down, inconsistent, schizophrenic bunch right now that I do not feel one iota comfortable playing minus 160 with, especially coming off the high of a win against Boston. It does feel penguinish, if that's a term. I'm going to make it up. Penguinish for the Pittsburgh Penguins to beat Boston on the road, come back home, and here's Buffalo. They find a way to win tonight. But Buffalo, I don't trust them to win 2 in a row. That's the problem. I think it's a Buffalo spot. I don't trust Pittsburgh in this spot, but I don't trust Buffalo to win 2 in a row. 1-14 is damning. I can't back you to win 2 in a row with a record like that. So where does it leave me in this game? Probably the over, if anything, because one thing about Buffalo is they can score. Pittsburgh, I think, in this game can find the back of the net themselves. And Pittsburgh is not a team I trust defensively right now. They have not played great in their own zone. And by the way, Levi's played better lately. They go back, though, tonight to UPL. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen will be in net for the Sabres tonight. Jari in net for Pittsburgh. How does he bounce back? He got pulled in his last start against the Washington Capitals, and he was awful in that first period. So we'll see if Tristan Jari can bounce back. I have a little bet to the over here, 6.5. That's about it. Want nothing to do with a side. I can tell you that in this game. Alex, Sabres, Penguins.
This is a complete pass for me. On a big card like this, there's other good spots, and just like anything here.
Yeah. So, to me, it's the side it's impossible. Minus 160 with Pittsburgh, no thank you. Buffalo at any price to win 2 in a row, no thank you. What do you think here, Zach? Buffalo, Pittsburgh.
I think we should sprinkle just a little bit of overtime in it. See if Buffalo can maybe sneak one and get that 2-14 record up. But that's maybe where my head would be at. I personally would like to see Pittsburgh really start rolling here. I want them to be a playoff team. I don't want them to be out again. So I'm going to stay away probably from picking a side, but maybe sprinkle a little bit of overtime in there.
There had been a brief history of overtime. We saw 3 of the last 4 meetings go past regulation before the last 3 straight were ended up being kind of games decided in regulation. So it's been kind of an up and down history over the last couple of years, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to look at. Maybe something live for the draw. If we see this game, this is definitely one of those games. If it's close late, you won't see teams make a mad dash. A 2-2 or 3-3 game late in the third could slow down and definitely go past regulation.
Yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. So it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out, Sabres and Penguins. It is a fascinating game, and obviously I grew up cheering for the Sabres, so I'll have an eye on it. But man, it's hard to get your head around the side here for this game with Pittsburgh erratic as can be, and Buffalo again 1-14 after a win this year. That's awful. I can't believe it's that bad. I knew it was bad, but then I went back and I'm like, holy shit, this is worse than I thought. My goodness, talk about ineptitude. What is do you treat every victory like you've won a Stanley Cup if you're Buffalo? Like, what's the explanation for being that bad after a win? That you're just so emotionally unprepared, mentally unprepared to play the next game after you have some modicum of success in the previous game. It's absolutely absurd that it's that bad for Buffalo after a win this year. As far as props go, Raquel's been good. good point in the chat. Lars Eller, I mean, with 3 goals and 4 points in the last 3 games. So Lars Eller with a little value there for Pittsburgh right now. He's playing quite well. And I'm going to go back to the well with for Buffalo. The mighty Jack Quinn for the Buffalo Sabres. No question. Cashed a ticket with him against, what a shot he had in the game against Montreal the other night. Perfect shot. No chance for the goaltender. That guy's got an unbelievable release. And Jack Quinn is putting it to good use. I think it's 4 goals in the last 6 games for him now for Buffalo. And you can still get above plus 300, plus 320 or so for him to score a goal tonight for the Sabres. So, yeah, Jack Quinn, man, I'll tell you what, Buffalo is a better team, certainly a better offensive team with Jack Quinn back. He has made an impact for them, no question. All right, next up, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the San Jose Sharks. I'm already getting texts from my Leaf fan buddies saying, watch us lose tonight after the 2 big wins in Southern California. Watch us lose to the San Jose Sharks. What, no faith in your team? No faith in Marty Jones right now with the way he's playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs? But the Leafs minus 300 here. Road favorites in this game, total 6. So the old Leafs, we know we would not trust them one bit, obviously, to win a game like this. 2 great wins against the Kings and the Ducks. Dominant wins. Even the Anaheim win, they needed overtime, but they were dominating. That only got to overtime because Lucas Dostal looked like Lucas Hasek that night in net for the Ducks. They played very well. We'll see how they fare here. Can they close out a 3-0 California swing here on this road trip tonight in San Jose? Martin Jones, yes, against one of his many former teams. He's been a suitcase of sorts, if you will, in the NHL. King started his career there backing up quick. Then he went to San Jose, and he had some good years. Remember, they got to the Stanley Cup final. Won San Jose one year when Martin Jones was their primary goaltender, their starting goaltender. Yeah. So that was probably the best season he's had. They lost to Pittsburgh. I remember that year in the Stanley Cup.
That's when everyone thought he was going to be a stud.
Yeah, because he was sitting behind Quick, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't get the opportunity, to be the number one there because obviously they've got this future Hall of Famer, Jonathan Quick, in net, who's winning cups left and right. So he wasn't going to get a shot there, but he goes to San Jose, gets the shot to be the number one, has a good couple of years there. And that was the highlight of his career. And ever since then, it's been a steady decline. His play dropped off at the end of the San Jose run. He goes to Philly. He struggles there. He goes to Seattle. He's kind of up and down there. But right now for Toronto, he's been nothing short of very good and solid. Every night he's given them a chance to win. He hasn't given up too many bad goals so far. But as we've mentioned it with these goalies that are backing up, that were backing up, and now they're starting every night due to issues like what Wedgwood's doing in Dallas with Ottinger out. Fatigue we worry about, the workload increasing we worry about, and that they're going to get worse, not better, the more starts they get as time goes on. So that might happen with Jones. Will it happen tonight? We'll see. He's going to be amped up to play San Jose in San Jose. There's no question. Wouldn't surprise me to see him play well. Plus, do we trust the Sharks to score? Right now, that's a big question with what we see from them one night to the next. That being said, I did have a small bet over here simply because I think the Leafs, after a couple of stodgy games with the Kings and with the Ducks, defensive-minded, defensive-minded, tighter checking games. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more pond hockey tonight because San Jose, especially against better offenses, we don't always trust them to shut them down. But I could see Toronto now. There's 2 great wins in the Southern California part of the trip. Apparently, they spent Thursday after the Anaheim win in Southern California. They had some fun. So you know what that means. I'm worried about that focus and that intensity being there for this game like it was for the last 2 games. And I could see the Sharks maybe capitalizing on that a bit. And it looks like for San Jose tonight in this game, Blackwood expected but not confirmed as of yet. One thing about Blackwood, he has struggled against Toronto. Toronto's really had especially when he was with the Devils. I mean, he got ravaged a couple times by the Leafs. So we'll see here. I have a small bet on the over. That's about it. I think the Leafs can score tonight. And I think San Jose is actually going to – this to me just feels like a spot for Toronto to not have one of their better defensive games. And we know that's something that's they're very capable of falling off defensively, especially when they start to undergo some prosperity, which they have obviously in the first 2 games of this road trip. I almost looked at the draw, but I did not pull the trigger. What do you think here, Alex? Leafs Sharks.
Yeah, this is not a night for the Toronto Maple draws by any means, but I definitely do Like the over. You could grab a 6 now, maybe grab a 6 small, and then try to get some 5.5 at plus money in game. Wait a few minutes for that. So that's something that I might kind of lean toward. I don't know if I'm going to play full game over right now or wait in game. More likely going to be waiting in game, but you could kind of split up the two if you feel like you might see a goal early in the contest. Like you said, Martin Jones. Yeah, the bulk of the best hockey, arguably the best hockey his entire career, was in San Jose, and I definitely think that this is like I said, we talked about this heading into this trip, that we expected to see this split of Jones playing against his two former teams with Hill to be in the middle. So kind of just going by the script that we kind of laid out for this road trip. That being said, I don't know, like I said, Leafs on the road laying a big price. They almost feel like you could trust them a bit more than being at home in this spot. But still not going to be looking at anything regulation or team total like that. I just want to stay just kind of looking at something in game with that over.
All right, Cuban liking Mike Hoffman. Fabian Zetterlund's been one of the few better San Jose offensive players lately. So we'll see if that carries over to tonight. And then as far as the Leafs are concerned, to me, with them, it's really been the onus offensively has really been on their best players. So it's hard to not look at, your Nylander, Marner, Tavares, Matthews quartet right now, because certainly on this road trip, they've kind of been getting down and carrying the load for them. What do you think here, Zach? Toronto, San Jose?
I'd be waiting for in-game if I'm going to lay anything, I think. Kind of see how it starts. Maybe honestly hope that the Sharks get out to a lead or something and then get a little bit better value for the Leafs comeback. I always kind of like dabbling with that. But, yeah, hopefully Martin Jones can keep going for them. It'd be nice to just see some Canadian teams play good, as much as I hate the Leafs. But they're starting to get into a pretty tight spot when you're looking at the standings. They got to really start rolling and stay out of these overtime games and start getting 2 points every night instead of kind of splitting it that they've been doing. So we'll see how it goes in game, but probably look at something maybe at the over that starts off slow, but that's all I'm looking at.
I like what Alan is saying in the chat. I forgot. Yes, Noah Gregor, former Shark, now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he only plays on the fourth line. I get it. He is fast, though. This guy skates really, really well. You know what Noah Gregor is? And I know exactly what he is. The great comparison. He's another Connor Brown. Skates like the wind. Tremendous skater, zero finish or very little finish, like not consistent. Like that guy with his skating ability, he could put in 20, 30 goals, in certain seasons, but I don't think he's got that upper tier skill set and hands and finishing ability. You know what I mean? Like the real great goal scorers have. And that's always been the hindrance with Noah Gregor. But you watch Noah Gregor play, he flies out there. Like he is a terrific, tremendous skater, but he just doesn't have the offensive finish usually to go with it, with the skating ability. And that's always been the issue with him in the past. All right, St. Louis and Carolina. We've got the Hurricanes minus 190, home favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this game. This is a back-to-back for Carolina. Obviously, they were in Washington last night, and they erupted in the third period of that game. Man, did they erupt. Huge onslaught on Darcy Kemper and the Washington Capitals, and they turned it into a 6-2 romp last night in that game over the Caps. So now they return home from this road trip back-to-back as well. Not a great spot for Carolina, but do you want to go against this team right now? They are rolling. They're in an absolutely terrific zone right now. I think you can say they're playing their best hockey of the season. Offensively, they're definitely playing their best hockey of the season right now. Like this team has got their offense going. And, we always sleep on Carolina's offense. And the reason why people sleep on it is because, to be honest, the offense was asleep at times earlier this season. But right now, it's not. And everybody is involved right now, whether it's Michael Bunting, whether it's Jesperi Kotkaniemi, whether it's Seth Jarvis, Marty Necas, and especially, of course, as I've mentioned multiple times this week, talking Carolina and this hot streak they're on, Aho and Svechnikov. They are the straws that stir this drink for Carolina, and right now they are absolutely rolling. And any Svechnikov, you know what? I did this last night. I posted it on Patreon. Again, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 a month. Sides, totals, player props every day. On the player prop card for last night, I took Aho and Svechnikov over 1.5 points, both of them, and they both hit. They both had multi-point games last night. So that tells you all you need to know right now about how on fire they are right now. You can get good plus price with both those guys to get over 1.5 points. That is a bet always worth making at the moment, right now, until they cool off, because they are absolutely feeling it right now. For the Carolina Hurricanes, Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov. Then you throw in Bunting chipping in. You throw in Jack Drury. He didn't score last night for my bargain bin, but he's been better. And how about the NHL debut last night? Because of necessity, they had Stefan Nason and Jesper Fast and Marty Necas. They were all, scratches. Actually, it was Nason and Fast last night, and actually Necas was a late scratch as well. So they end up calling up from the AHL, Chicago Wolves, Vasily Ponomarev from Chicago. NHL debut. People are saying, how did you not mention this guy on the show? I didn't even know he was going to get called up, because we didn't know those guys were going to be out when we did the show yesterday. This was like 2 hours before the game. We found out, these guys are out, and we've called up this kid, and he's in the lineup, or else I would have mentioned it. He's been tearing it up in the AHL. He's been very good down there. 6 goals, 20 points in 20 AHL games. Sure enough, the kid has a 2-point game in his NHL debut last night. Vasily Ponomarev for Carolina, a goal and an assist. And his goal was a beauty. Hell of a shot for his first ever NHL goal. So there's another bargain bin type of prop maybe tonight. Ponomarev, if he's back in the lineup tonight for Carolina in this game. St. Louis beat Vancouver 2-1. We know they've been a tougher team to beat, a better team a little bit, uptick in performance since Bannister took over from Craig Berube. They have a winning record since he took over. So it's definitely a spot advantage for St. Louis. I might add the Blues here if Ronta's in net, and I would expect Ronta to be in net. You can't run Kochetkov into the ground. He got the game last night against Washington, so I would expect Ronta to be in net for this matchup tonight against the Blues. So if that's confirmed, Ronta in net, I'm probably going to sprinkle on the Blues just a little bit, because they do have the rest advantage too, plus 170. They've actually played Carolina tough in series history as well, if you look at it. I definitely like full game over. 5 of the last 6 meetings have gone over between these two teams, or actually 5 of the last 7 have gone over. I'm going to ride Carolina team total over 3.5 again, because they seem to be scoring 4 goals ad nauseum every single night. And if Ronta's confirmed, like I say, we'll have over 6.5. And if Ronta's confirmed, I might even add first period over in this game, or first period both teams to score as well. So over first period, over full game, Carolina team total over. And I might even sprinkle. It's funny, I like Carolina team total over, and I might sprinkle 2 on St. Louis plus 170 if Ronta's in net. Because I could see 5-4 St. Louis. That would cash everything tonight. I honestly could. Or even, 5-4 Carolina wouldn't cash the money line, but I could see that kind of score tonight. I just don't trust Ronta flat out. He's going through confidence issues right now. He's been absolutely terrible lately. And I didn't think he was that much better in his first start after that little conditioning stint, or that little stint down in the AHL. When he played Montreal after that stint in the AHL, he gave up 3 goals on only 21 shots. That's not the sign of a goalie that's got his confidence back and his game back. So I think there's goals early, there's goals often, and I like Carolina team total over, and I expect Ronta to be confirmed. And when that is, I might even sprinkle on Blues money line here. What do you think in this one, Alex? Blues, Hurricanes.
Yeah, so and everybody in the chat saying it too, but Ronta is officially confirmed. I think it's been like in the last 15 minutes. So I'm on the first period over. I'm on the first period, both teams to score. I'm going to wait and try and grab a full game over at a better price in game. So I'm looking for 6 at some plus money, or 5.5, laying $1.30. I'll even lay $1.40 in that spot, just trying to get a better of the number with that. And like I said, Ronta's just been an absolute mess. And this is a Blues team that's been kind of schizophrenic with their up and down defense. This is a game, like I said, 5-4 makes total sense. You could take a shot with 5-4, correct score. You could take a shot with 4-4 correct score for a little bit, and tie that in with the draw as well. So this is when you could take a half unit, and chop it up and play a lot of different things with. But I do really like the first period. It looks the most here. First period over, and both teams to score.
6-2 to the over for Carolina in their last 8 games. Why is that? Their offense is rolling, and then you're going to have the combination of that red-hot offensive production for the team, and now a goalie he's been not very good lately, Antti Raanta. So It does have sometimes it looks too easy, and sometimes you worry about these games. It looks too easy to think there's going to be a lot of goals here, but it definitely makes sense when you look at how this game sets up that we could see a lot of goals in bunches tonight. What do you think here in this one, Zach? St. Louis, Carolina.
I think Carolina's rolling. They're starting to find their game more and more week after week. I think it's pretty hard to side with St. Louis regardless who's in net. They're 10-3-3 at home. The Blues don't have a very good road record as well. So I'd be siding with Carolina here, but what I'm looking at is something live. I want to see how the first period plays out. If it's slow 0-0, I'm going to be taking Carolina second period money line. So that's kind of where my head's at in the game, but we'll be waiting until it live. And I think over is probably a pretty good look. So something like that maybe too, but I'd probably wait live. I just kind of want to see how the start is.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. You know what? With that, I mentioned St. Louis money line. I might even add a team total over on St. Louis too, with Ronta in net now. So it's pretty crazy. You're going to be, but I think this is definitely one of those games. Like I honestly have in my mind, this could be like Carolina Nashville remember there was a Nashville at Carolina game late in 2023 December. Ronta was in net. And it ended up being 6-5 Nashville in overtime. It was a high-scoring game. That's why you're thinking, well, you're talking out of both sides of your mouthy, and you like Carolina team total over, but you like St. Louis money line. There's a reason for that. This could be like Nashville at Carolina, the sequel tonight in this game, where it's 6-5 St. Louis in overtime. St. Louis cashes, team total cashes for the Blues. The Carolina team total over still cashes, and you get the full game over, the first period over. You get those hitting as well. That's what I feel like because Ronta at home in that Nashville game, I remember it was 6-5 Nashville in overtime, and he was awful. And I could see that kind of game tonight with the Blues and the Hurricanes. That's why I think you can make a case for a Blues money line and a Hurricanes team total over and have both of them cash tonight in this kind of situation. All right, next up, you've got Nashville, Dallas. Dallas minus 170, home favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this game. I mean, do we even have to, belabor the point at this point, what we're doing with Dallas? First period over. So you're not splitting the atom, figuring that one out, that's going to be on the card here tonight in this game. Now, there is, a little bit of a caveat here with these teams. They're both off disappointing defensive showings, but I don't know. That hasn't affected either of these teams' ability, especially Dallas, to go over the total as of late, especially early. So over 1.5 is around minus 135 for that first period. Over 6.5, I like a little bit too, not as much as the first period over. Keep in mind, big injury, of course, to Miro Heiskanen for Dallas. Very, very unfortunate, and he's going to be missed. There's no question. He plays a ton of minutes, all situations. There's a drop-off for the most part between him and a majority of the rest of that Stars blue line. 4 goals, 23 assists, 27 points in 37 games. He averages over 25 minutes of ice time. Just irreplaceable, and week to week now with that lower body injury that he suffered the other night. But this is where you're going to, he's having a good year, Thomas Harley. We're going to find out how good a year he's having because he's going to get a lot of the lion's share role for Dallas without Miro Heiskanen. I'm seeing that Thomas Harley is going to move up to the number 1 power play unit tonight for the Stars without Miro Heiskanen. So a lot more responsibility on him. I think it's a good Thomas Harley prop game. He's going to get this opportunity, number 1 power play, goal prop, assist prop, anything you can find on Thomas Harley for Dallas tonight because he's going to get a lot more looks. Number 1 power play duty. And of course, here's our guy, Matt Robinson, resident Stars fan. There you go. He likes Harley to score or at least a point tonight. Yep, no question. Definitely what I was thinking there with Dallas. And then for Nashville, prop-wise, I'm riding the Gus bus again. How can you not? Gustav Nyquist is on a 7-game point streak for the Nashville Predators. He's been absolutely on fire, scoring goals, setting up his teammates with assists. So definitely liking Gus Nyquist props again for Nashville tonight in this game. Duchesne against his old team didn't work against the first time they played. We went with Duchesne. He didn't score, I believe. I don't think he did. But I'd go back to the well with Duchesne tonight against Nashville, his old team here tonight in this one for props. So that's what I'm looking at, as well as Nashville first period over, a little smaller on the full game over. Oh, And how can I not in a game like this, especially when we got robbed of a draw with Nashville and Dallas in the first meeting? Remember that crazy-ass game? 2-1 Nashville. Late in the game, they tie it with 15 seconds left. Surely it's going to overtime and you're cashing your draw, right? No. Yoni Hockenpah with 3 seconds to go. Seeing eye shot and 3-2 Dallas in regulation. Unbelievable finish in Nashville when these teams played just recently. That close to the draw in that game. I'm going to roll back with the draw here tonight in this game. And Dallas, look, they love overtime. We're seeing it throughout the course of their last month or so. What do you think in this one, Alex? Nashville, Dallas.
It goes without saying that I'm on the first period over. Got that minus $1.35. It's literally the first thing. If it's a Dallas Stars day, this is pretty much how my day starts. I roll out of bed, I grab my cell phone, I go and check everything, and that's the first bet that I make. As soon as I see it, that the market's open, I'm on that first period over. So $1.35 with that. Also, I have been avoiding this the last couple of games, but I'm on it back on it again tonight. Both teams to score in the first period. I got that at plus 160, and also with the draw at plus 360 at FanDuel. Like I said, we should have had a draw in the last matchup with these two teams. I do think we get one here, and I think it'll be a little bit more decisive. It won't be so much drama late in the contest. I think we get good pace back and forth throughout this one. So it should be a fun one to watch. We're going first period over. Both teams to score in the first. Regulation draw, and I do have a player prop I'll talk about later as well.
We've talked about Scott Wedgwood, man. He's running on fumes right now, Scott Wedgwood. Like, this is an insane amount of games, nothing like what he's experienced before in a row, and he's getting worse. Not like he's done this yeoman's work. I mean, he's actually given them a lot more than I thought they would, given the span of games he's had to play. But you can tell he's wearing down. He's getting a little fatigued. You can see it. Just his quickness in the net's and it's not tracking the puck as well as he did, say, when he first started getting these starts in a row. That's concerning. And by the way, you talk about concerning in net, Kevin Lankinen might get the start tonight for Nashville. And I would expect him to be in net because I think they want to give Saros a break. That was a rough night for Saros against Calgary. But here's the problem with Lankinen. He's another one of these Forrest Gump goaltenders, Forrest Gump of goaltending. You never know what you're going to get. And that's been Kevin Lankinen. He's had a couple of great games. And I still remember the Carolina game that I mentioned with him and Ronta. They were going head-to-head, Carolina-Nashville. He was not very good in that game. He's had some rougher performances of late, Lankinen in net. So not a guy I trust. So another reason why we could see goals tonight here in Dallas. What do you think, Zach? Nashville, Dallas?
I'm going to go first period Stars, I think, money line. So I think I can get it at a plus 150. I saw you might be able to get even a little bit better value, but I think Stars will come out hot. I think Nashville is going to start declining a little bit here into the new year.
All right. Good
Other
stuff.
than that, I might think about something live, but game doesn't really appeal to me too much. But Dallas seems like they're pretty fire at home, and they can get off to a good start. So,
wow,
I don't trust Nashville.
The first period over better damn well appeal to you, though, right? We're talking 19-2 in the last 21 games. Yeah.
2-0 Dallas first period. Let's go. Help everyone.
There you go. I mean, you got to roll with that when you see that kind of numbers, and it's been just remarkable. The 19-2 in the last 21 Dallas Stars games for the first period over. So it's
27 and was it 26-12 for the year?
For the year, yeah. And then it's just been this crazy run of 19 of the last 21. So absolutely amazing numbers for the Dallas Stars for first period overs. All right, next up, we've got the New York Islanders and the Vegas Golden Knights. It is Vegas minus 145 home favorites here. Total 6 in this game. Vegas is definitely struggling. They're having a tough time. Pit of my gut says they win tonight, though. In my opinion, Bruce Cassidy a little rougher on his team after that Florida game, saying, hey, we got to pick things up. We'll see if they're able to do that here tonight. And keep in mind with Vegas, too, they played Florida, rolling right now. Seattle's rolling right now in the Winter Classic. They lost 3-0, but they're playing good hockey. They did beat LA, but they played Florida again, Tampa, Carolina. This has been a pretty tough schedule of opponents for Vegas lately. You know, that's been part of it, too. Not only are they struggling, but they have had a tough schedule of late. I don't love Vegas. I don't feel overly confident in them, but I do lean to them here, minus 145 in this game. The price is just below my threshold. I'll probably have a small slice of the Golden Knights here, the VGK at home, minus 145. It's been a long road trip here for the Islanders, and I know they got a nice win against Arizona 5-1. But they've got a mini Buffalo thing going right now as far as after a win. They have not been as good after a win lately. If you look at it, they beat Anaheim, they lose to Boston. They beat Edmonton, they lose to Washington. They beat Carolina, they lose 7-0 to Pittsburgh. They beat Washington again 5-1, and then they lose to Pittsburgh again 3-1. So they haven't been as good off a win lately either, the Islanders. Stringing 2 wins in a row together hasn't been good for the Islanders in recent games. So it's an opportunity, you'd expect, and a little discount. That's a great point there, EQ. It's a discount on Vegas here at this price range, given their recent struggles. So I'm going to go Vegas here for a small bet, minus 145. And I got to go to Draw Island, Thailanders, with the Thailanders for a little bit with the draw in this game as well. And keep in mind, as far as the draw is concerned, of course, we know they went to OT against Colorado earlier this week, but head-to-head, seen 3 of the last 6 meetings between these two teams go past regulation. So a little head-to-head draw history with these two teams as well. Alex, Islanders, Golden Knights.
Yeah, there's only one bet that I made, and that is the regulation draw guy at plus 325.
Go. Islanders, Golden Knights draw for Alex here in this one as well. What do you think here, Zach? New York Islanders, Vegas, Golden Knights.
I think I'll look Vegas, probably regulation time. I bet Vegas a little bit here the last couple of days, and obviously haven't been cashing. So hopefully they turn it around at home. Last 10, they're 3-7, so they're back home where they've been pretty dominant. So I think they're going to get off to a good start. Might even dabble with that first period money line Vegas as well.
Yeah, definitely not a bad option there as well. This is like every team, as we've said this a million times on this show, every team's going to go through a rough patch. This is not, Vegas sucks, it's over. The chances of repeating are finished. It's nothing like that. They're going through their little...
They're second in the Pacific.
Exactly. Like, they're going to get going again. They'll be fine long term.
If they weren't struggling, they probably would be taking over first place right now.
Plus, they have a shit ton of injuries too. Let's keep that in mind. They don't have a ton, but they've got some key ones. Shea Theodore, William Karlsson is missed. There's no question. He's had a great good year for them. That's anytime you lose a center, especially one that's playing as well as William Karlsson is this season, you're going to feel it. And then Aiden Hill, who is their best goalie, he's been out for a while now, and it hasn't helped that Logan Thompson's been less than stellar. Is the best way to describe it. In the absence of Aiden Hill. So definitely the draw and a little bit on Vegas for me in this one. And we wrap this Saturday card up with our 12th and final game of this Saturday dozen, Ottawa and Edmonton. We've got the Oilers minus 200 home favorites, 7 being the total here in this one. What can you say about Ottawa, man? It's just the coaching. This is one team where the coaching change has not given them that bump and that uptick that it has for so many others, like Minnesota, like St. Louis, and Edmonton, of course, with Chris Knobloch, the team they're playing tonight. It has not been the case for Ottawa. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. Since Jacques Martin's been here, 3-5 in their 8 games. They've lost 2 in a row to start this road trip, 6-3 at Vancouver. They were down 5-0 after the first period. They lose 4-1 to Seattle. You see the frustration. Tim Stützle snapping his stick and then lost to Seattle the other night. I mean, it's frustration right now. It rains, it pours. Senators, and they know that they've dug themselves so much of a hole that they probably feel like, geez, we're just playing for exercise for the next, 3-4 months of the season because of just how big of a deficit we are in to try to get into any sort of wild card position or any sort of mix to contend at least for the wild card. That is how far behind Ottawa has fallen right now. And unfortunately for them, they have to take on this Edmonton team that has been a freight train for the better part of the last month. I think their record is now 16-2, 17-2 in the last 16 or 18, 19 games. So just they've been absolutely on a roll, Edmonton. They've won 6 in a row. Their offense is firing on all cylinders. McDavid's putting up big points. Draisaitl is doing his thing. Hyman's doing his thing. Nugent-Hopkins is doing his thing. And don't look now, Warren Foegele and Ryan McLeod are stepping up with secondary offense on a regular basis lately for the Edmonton Oilers. So they're a dangerous team. Skinner, Stuart Skinner in net has stepped up his game. He's playing his best hockey of the year, making key saves and he's played really well. Credit to Skinner, because Skinner didn't play well early in the season either, like with the rest of the team. And just like the rest of the team, he has picked his play up significantly. He is already confirmed in net tonight for the Oilers. Anton Forsberg is expected for Ottawa, but I'm not sure it matters at this point because the D has been horrendous in front of both of their goaltenders, and they're still trying to adjust to play in that system under Jacques Martin. They have clearly not figured it out, and it's been rough for Forsberg. He got pulled against Vancouver, giving up the 4 goals. He gave up 4 to Pittsburgh. He gave up 5 to Dallas. So Forsberg hasn't been in great form either going into this game here tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, I don't want to lay minus 200, but it's very difficult to say, yeah, let's bet Ottawa right now, with what I have seen from them. We have seen two in this series history. It's trended over. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone over the total. 6-3, 6-3, 6-4 have been the scores in those games, but I'm going to wait for a live over. I'm not betting a pregame over at 7, not a chance. Maybe a first period, both teams to score. I'll wait for a live over. The primary bet that I like, side or total pregame in this one. Now, I got to lay a bigger price than I like, minus 160, but I'm going to go Edmonton team total here, over 3.5. Again, not a great price, but to get 4 goals. And how often do we say this about Edmonton? When they win and when they're playing well and when they're at home, they're going to usually get to 4 goals. And we've seen them score 6, 4, 5, 7, and 5 in 5 of the 6 wins during this 6-game win streak. So not the price I love, but we did grab minus 160 here with Edmonton team total over 3.5. Alex, Senators, Oilers.
I'm just looking now. I mean, you could grab a 4 for that team total rather than a 3.5. You go to a BetMGM.
If you want to cut down on the juice, that's good.
Yeah. To kind of reduce that. The only thing I'm looking at here with Edmonton, I'm just going first period team total over 1.5 plus 190.
That's good. That's good. I could see that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just not even trusting Ottawa to do anything for me. I need Edmonton to give me 2 or more goals in the first period. And like you said, with Forsberg and that, he hasn't looked that great. The defense in front of him has been abysmal. That doesn't seem like a lot to ask for out of the Oilers. So just 2 goals in the first period for Edmonton at plus 190. That's the only thing I'm rolling with.
I mean, geez, normally I'd be saying Ottawa at this price. Maybe Oilers a little disinterested, but the Oilers have had spots to be disinterested lately. The Philly game could have been disinterested. They won 5-2. Anaheim, after beating LA in a shootout the night before, could have been disinterested. All they did was dummy the Ducks 7-2. They haven't had these flat spots, these play down to competition spots. They haven't had these at Edmonton. So that's why I can't buy into the argument that, bet Ottawa for a letdown. Well, I haven't seen it from Edmonton. So until I see it, I'm reluctant to think that way. As far as props, Josh Norris has done well against Ottawa. I couldn't argue with that. For Edmonton, McLeod, absolutely. Fogle, absolutely. And then if you want to take some point props involving, McDavid, because he's just on fire at the moment. Nugent Hopkins has stepped it up. Can definitely look at some over 1.5 points props involving multiple Oilers players in this game tonight, possibly get good plus money in return. Zach, what do you think here? Ottawa, Edmonton.
Yeah, I like Alex's bet there for the Oilers there over 1.5. I agree with him. I don't know. You can trust Ottawa to do anything right now. So I'm hoping it's going to be one of those typical high scoring Canadian affairs with Ottawa involved. So I'd probably look at the over 2. At first, I was kind of almost even thinking over 2.5.
Plus 185 with that Oilers first period team total, by the way. Plus 185.
And before I heard Alex, I was kind of thinking maybe like over 2.5 goals in the first period for both teams, even like a 2-1 first type thing. But started to think about Ottawa a little when I was listening to you, and I feel probably a little bit more comfortable with just thinking Edmonton's going to get 2. So hope they get off to a hot start. Yeah, it's been crazy how much they're winning. And I was talking to my buddy who's a huge Oilers fan, and he was saying, I don't know if this is true or not, but at the Christmas break that the Oilers had a better record than they did like the past 2 seasons. So I guess they're obviously been a pretty big second half team.
They are rolling. I mean, this is like I said, and there's been spots in the last 2 or 3 games for the Edmonton Oilers to do what they sometimes do, play down to competition, lackadaisical, find a way to lose in a game they shouldn't, and they have avoided those. So they've had eyes on the prize, getting the job done, business-like, workman-like attitude throughout this entire win streak. So that's why I'm hesitant to step in front of that right now with this Edmonton Oilers team. No doubt with the way they have been going during this 6-game win streak. there you go. That's the Saturday card. Look at this. Our numbers in terms of live viewers, 275 watching live on YouTube. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that. We should have 275 likes, quite honestly. Hit that like button. Let's go. Make it happen. We're giving you every game, all 12 games on this Saturday card, and we do this each and every day throughout the season right here on the Ice Guys. And make sure to sign up at patreon.com/Ice Guys. $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily cards, sides, totals, player props, all of that posted every single day at patreon.com/Ice Guys. Again, just $10 per month. We're going to have video and bonus show content on the way. And our first Patreon Ice Guys exclusive betcast is coming your way this month. It's at the end of the month. We're not giving the date away, but we will drop the link the day of the betcast as a surprise to all our Patreon members. And that particular betcast will only be available to be watched by Patreon members, and to join us on the stream, only open to Patreon members. So that's coming up later in January. So make sure you get on board. It's one of the best $10 a month you'll ever spend, honestly, especially when we give you all the plays that we bet personally ourselves each and every day with the daily card on the page. So patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Make sure you get on board with that. And of course, the Ice Guys store, don't sleep on that in the new year. Great new merch available there, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, and if you check it out right now, you'll be able to save. There's a coupon link at the top of the page. You can save 24% off to ring in the new year 2024. So definitely want to check that out. We've got everything in stock right now. All different kinds of sizes and colors. Everything's available at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, there you go. iceguys.myspreadshop.com for the Ice Guys store. All right, it is time for our bargain bin special of the night. Everyone's favorite segment on this show, or one of their favorite segments of this show. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you got for this bargain bin special today?
Yeah, so I'm heading down to Dallas, and we are going with Thomas Harley, plus 490 anytime goal. Like you said, getting that bump up in the power play unit as well. And he's been, a lot of these defensemen have been live for us. We've been able to cash with a few of them in the bargain bin department. So we're going with Harley again, plus 490. You get that at FanDuel. That's my bargain bin special today.
There it is, Thomas Harley, plus 490 for the Dallas Stars. And again, with Heiskanen's absence, he's getting the number one power play role now, and more ice time, more responsibility, and probably more opportunity to produce offensively. So it makes a lot of sense conceptually. Thomas Harley, Dallas Stars, plus 490 for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. Zach, you were mentioning to me before the show, you've been working hard on trying to get a good bargain bin pick here. What do you like?
I'm going kind of somewhere where you've been before, but a little different. I'm going Luke Hughes to record 2 or more points at plus 700. I think even too, if Jack's out, he'll probably step it up even more, playing against his brother, and he's been on a bit of a tear lately. So if he's running the top of that power play too, I'm going to go two or more points tonight for Luke Hughes.
That is on my player prop card, and I do like it. Luke Hughes, plus 700 for over 1.5 points tonight for the New Jersey Devils in the Hughes Bowl, Part 2, as they take on the Vancouver Canucks. For my bargain bin special of the night for this Saturday card, lots to choose from. I'm going to the Gus Bus. Plus 380 at FanDuel. Are you kidding me? Plus 380 at FanDuel for Gustav Nyquist right now. With what he is producing for the Nashville Predators at this point in time, I'm playing still on the top line, as he should be, because he's been playing great hockey for Andrew Brunette's team, playing with O'Reilly and Forsberg. And to think he is still getting plus 380 at FanDuel to score a goal right now. This is a guy that has 4 goals in the last 5 games for this Nashville Predators team. He's on this 7-game point streak right now. I'm just stunned by that price, and it is bargain bin worthy for sure. Gustav Nyquist, Nashville Predators, plus 380. For my bargain bin special of the night on this Saturday card. All right, it is time for best bets to wrap it up for this Saturday edition of the Ice Guys. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Well, it's hockey night in Big D, so that means we're going first period over. Dallas Stars, Nashville Predators, first period over 1.5, minus $1.35. Just trying to ride on this 17-2 run as long as we possibly can. That's my best bet. Dallas Stars, first period over against Nashville today.
There we go. Back to the old recipe. And dance with what's been working. Nashville, Dallas, over 1.5 first period for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. Zach Urban, another outstanding job, our Saturday man here on the Ice Guys. What do you think for best bet here today?
I'm going with Vegas in regulation against the Islanders. Get them at a +115. So that's my best bet of the night.
There we go. Vegas in regulation, +115 against the New York Islanders. Best bet for Zach Urban. My best bet finally had the best bet streak snapped last night as Chicago, New Jersey just failed to go over the total. We'll see if we can start a new one tonight. And to start a new streak, I'm going bold, and I am stepping directly in front of this incredible series history that the New Jersey Devils have had against the Vancouver Canucks. Not tonight. Vancouver's been good off a loss. I still think they're a little bit the better team. I think they're in the better spot, too. New Jersey off that very emotional, violent game against Chicago last night. Carnage everywhere. Players injured left and right on both sides. It was like that lay a human waste, apparently, on both sides last night. And I think Vancouver gets the job done tonight. And they lost the meeting in Vancouver against this Jersey team 6-5. I think they get some payback tonight. Vancouver Canucks +100 against the New Jersey Devils in part 2 of the Hughes Bowl. That's going to be my best bet for this Saturday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Zach Urban, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys.